Alright, getting ready for another episode. And let's turn everything on. Welcome. This is my vintage Teletype terminal, and we're going to have some fun logging into a Unix machine with this computer terminal and going to go play. So let's see. Actually, before I start any machines firing up, I have a little piece of unboxing to do, because I got this thing in the mail and I want to open it and see what's inside. In theory, this is some special, fairly special paper tape, and it came all the way from Europe, and it took a very long time to get here. So let's see, we have a box with 2 rolls of tape in it, 2 rolls of something. It's kind of heavy, it's like a book. So I have a decent stock of paper tape, although it's really quite hard to get hold of. This punch tape here is you can find it on eBay, but nobody's making it anymore, so the only people selling it have got stock that they've found in a warehouse or something. Of course it costs more money than it really ought to at this stage. Alright, yes. 2 of these. I think they're both going to be the same. I'll drop that one over there. Let's have a look at this. But this tape that I have is your regular, it's made of oiled paper. I mean, it's paper. It tears super easily. It folds, it spindles, it mutilates. And it smells of oil. It smells quite a little bit of, like, it has a really nice oil smell. I use this for paper tape punch bookmarks. I use it for decorating around the house. I use it for all sorts of things. But this is another thing altogether. Yes, it's blue. The other piece of punch tape I have, beside a couple of rolls of this yellow stuff, is I have some folded paper tape that's from Digital, or at least it's deck style. I don't know if that's really a thing, but that's the way I think of it. And of course the machinery doesn't really work with folded tape, because this here is designed for putting a roll in. So let's see what this is like. I'm going to snip a little bit of it off. It seems to be taped together. Oh, that's okay. It's just the glue. Let's snip a little bit of this. And yes, this is actually what I was hoping for. So the ad said this is mylar paper. In other words, it's paper tape, but it's got a mylar base or fabric weave to it. It's not weaved, it's like paper. It's really like paper. It cuts super easily. Cuts with scissors just nicely. But it doesn't tear at all. I cannot tear it. And so mylar was used for punching kind of archives. If you want something that you're going to read again and again, mylar should be a way better thing. I am not altogether certain that mylar is going to go through the punch very well, because obviously if I can't tear it, then the punch has to do a lot more work to actually punch it. And of course it's not oiled. The point of having oiled tape is that really it oils itself as it goes through the machinery, so that the little pins that end up punching don't need to be lubricated, because the paper itself puts some oil on there. So that's great. It's like Christmas all over. Anyway, little unboxing. Now let's turn the machine on. We're going to do some real fun work here. Plug it in and fire up the computer as well as the terminal. And I got to wait for the computer to boot up, because they're actually on the same circuit here. I just turned them both on at once. obviously the terminal's up and running. Literally, it's online on the local offline setting, and it's humming away to itself. The current loop electronics is all in place. The firmware that connects it to the computer is boots up in no time. And now we have it automatic login, so straight away it logs me in, and I hit W, it read it as a H. Let's try that again. Alright, up 0 minutes, 1 user. And so here we are, logged into the computer, logged into a Unix machine, which is actually a Raspberry Pi. Super slow, but that's okay. And the device that I'm attached to is called TTY-ACM0. That's because it's actually going through a USB adapter. The Raspberry Pi, I'm not using like GPIO pins or anything like that. It's connected. This thing has a bit of electronics and a teensy micro. Hey Luna, thanks for joining me over here. Excellent. Hope you have fun watching this one. So yeah, the electronics then goes through a teensy microprocessor that does some firmware, character translation, and then it goes to USB. So the Raspberry Pi thinks this is a USB terminal running at 110 baud. So anyway, that's a whole other topic. I think it's worth actually doing a whole other session sometime about like how does that automatic login prompt happen. What's the Getty that gets you there, and then talk about the electronics maybe and stuff. Certainly I'll talk about the electronics if it breaks, because then I'll have to. So today, what I want to do is write a chatbot. I started last time. I started working on a chatbot for having a Twitch bot that we can actually send messages out to the terminal. So my thinking is, if I run a Twitch bot kind of interactively in foreground, then it can subscribe to the Twitch chat, and anything you print in the chat, then it can come out here, and then we can have special commands. And the most special command I want to start with, I think, is having a chat command that says ring a bell. So if I go on the chat now and say bell, then obviously nothing happens, there's no bots running. But my goal is to have that command ring the bell on the Teletype terminal. So last time we started the process of looking at how to do that. You can go look it up if you like. I picked a really bad library, as it turned out. I just googled for like the Twitch chat API IRC example. It's really not well maintained. Little bit of history that I gathered over the last few days. The Twitch APIs have had several revisions. The IRC API authenticates with OAuth, and then some old Twitch APIs for their web services that authenticate just with username and passwords or tokens. They've switched some of them to OAuth. The various API names, I forget. Helix came up. I forget what the old or the new one or whatever. Anyway, it was all complicated. And the sample code that they have on their GitHub was Python 2.x code, and didn't work with the new APIs, and it used the IRC Python library, and if you try install the IRC Python library in 2.x, it's all been upgraded to version 3 only, and so that whole thing was not gonna work. Instead, that didn't work. Instead, I found a sample and I copied it into here. So this is, you can see this up on my GitHub. I copied it into here, and I made a couple basic edits to it just to check that I could authenticate, because the authentication was the tricky bit. It's like, how do you authenticate? There's actually two APIs, so there's kind of two tokens, and the way that this library works is you can just pass them both the same token and it'll work quite happily, or it seems to. And you have to go through the OAuth dance of like generating yourself a token that you're going to authenticate with, but that's all done. I've put that in the environment. Oh yeah, that reminds me. I wanted to do, last time, I wanted to do grep, env, and then pipe it through grep. And there's no pipe. Like, the keyboard doesn't have that character. ASCII 63 doesn't have the pipe character. Therefore, you can't do that. Or at least, I mean, of course, it's just Unix, so I could write a script that does that, but I can't type that on the keyboard. I found a bashism way to do it, so I can actually go grep -i term, which is the thing I was looking for, and then I can pipe the input from env using this angle bracket parentheses. So that has the almost same effect of saying env pipe grep. And it lets me do case-insensitive searches because -i is case-insensitive and the word term is uppercase, but everything that looks uppercase here isn't, it's lowercase. So case-insensitive is really important. Anyway, back to the Twitch part. I'm just going to show you this because then you'll see how far I got in my hacking around on it to see if this was a better idea. So there's a little Python script. I hope you can read the Python words in here on the main printout, but we'll come back to them. So it's based on this thing from Twitch.io on GitHub. Twitch.io seems to be way better maintained and actively people working on it, and it also has like a really nice thing that I don't know about, and so there's a good learning curve, which is async IO in Python 3. I know nothing about async IO. It sounds like a good idea if you're going to build event-driven scripts or applications. And so here's a good place to go kind of play around on it. So let's leave this to run, and I'll talk about it line by line once it's finished printing, and then we'll make some edits and try and make it actually do something. Very pleased with this tape. Maybe I can set up the tape while it's going. Release that. Pull the tape out. I'm just going to try a small segment. That is a beautiful thing. Whoa, and it's struggling. Wow. Okay. So that's really fascinating. It punched on the Mylar tape, and mostly successfully. And then at the end, it didn't drag it forward fast enough. I think that might be just it ran out of space. Yeah, I think it's just it slipped at the end of the grippy. So I think it's actually okay. I want to be super careful when I'm printing punch on Mylar, because I know that it's hard work for the machine. So I'm going to be like really cautious about what I do with that. But I love it. Indestructible hard copy. So if any geeks are into a Bitcoin wallet using 1970 technology, here you go. hard wallet. That's that's what this stuff should be used for. Archive of small binary objects. That's like 300 bytes there. Alright, let's look at this code. So, hope you can read it. I'm going to just kind of talk through it and read it. I'm using click. Click is a command line parameters library. So Luna, this is kind of similar to the way you're using getopt. I didn't know what getopt was until you showed me there. But click is a nice little Python library that helps you declare command line parameters. It seems to be way better than the argparse nonsense that's been in the library in the core forever. Anyway, I added that because I want to hide some stuff in the environment. So we've got this Twitch.io library. So this is all there, just sample, but I changed a little bit of the way it starts up here. So this is building a Python class that extends their bot commands class in the init, and of course we don't have an underscore character on this terminal, so it's backward init, but really that says underscore. And of course remember all of this is pretty much lowercase, and also of course there's no curly braces on this ASCII. ASCII 63 just doesn't have them, and so Python's kind of nice because you don't need them. Or you don't need them too much unless you're going to deal with dictionaries in literals. Anyway, so the constructor for this bot is going to take an IRC token and an API token and a user nickname and a channel name and maybe a prefix for the commands, but we'll leave that as an exclamation mark. Then there's a couple things that says, well, okay, you don't need to do anything to capture events. There's a set of events that'll happen on the channel, and like the ready event is just going to call this, and it's an async function, and it just does stuff and returns. I'm not yet sure what that really is going to mean, other than it's all async. So there's a message loop somewhere that's posting messages to us, but so let's see. Here's an event message. Sorry, here's a function to handle the message event. So I think this says anytime there's a message on the channel, it's going to print the author name, whoever said it, and then it's going to print the message content just to stand it out. And then await self-handle commands of the message. And so again, it's going to make an async call to handle this handle commands has got to be in the superclass, in the bot class. All in the Twitch.io library. Go visit their GitHub. We might need to go there to figure out how this is going to work. And then the commands have a little decorator that says @commands and names are test commands. So there's a thing here that says any message is going to print who said it. And then if it's a command and it's called test, so pling test, then CTX, the context that it's running in, it's going to send back into the chat hello and whoever said it. So I think that's kind of neat. It's a whole chatbot, or at least it's the framework for a chatbot, and I know how to extend that by adding new commands like bell or whatever. And so then the way it runs with main is, and this is basically a little bit of stuff that I added. It says let's add a command line option called token, and if there's an environment variable called Twitch token, it'll have a value already. Let's have nick, and that's your nickname, and again default it from an environment variable, and the same with the channel. And check that the token starts with OAuth, because that was the thing that I needed to do to make it actually work with my tested count. And if there's no channel specified, then just use hash and the nickname, so log into your own channel, which is what I'm going to do here. Construct the bot and start it running. And start it running just means, I think, it's going to fire up this async.io event loop and run forever until you interrupt it. Later, I'm going to have to do some reading on the web to figure out if I want to make that really interactive, how do I do a read? from standard in and send stuff like to make it real kind of to make this a chat client and not just a chat bot. But for now, it's going to be a chat bot. So let's try running it, I guess. I haven't run this yet, so I don't know if it works. I mean, I ran it on a test account. No. Oh. Why is that not working? Did I spell it wrong or something? The command completion, Control I, wasn't doing anything there. But it seems to be running. Oh no. Oh yeah, it is. It's actually running. And so it says, ready. It's received the ready event, and it's listening on the channel. Hey Luna, do you want to say something on the chat channel? And then let's see if it prints it. Because I think any message it's going to print and say who says it. Oh yeah. It is. This thing is on. Yeah. Alright. Now try test with the pling at the beginning of it. Okay. Alright, okay, this is much more interesting. Okay, I hope the traceback is not too long. So... yeah. Bang, bang, bang. I need some word wrap at the end of this thing. Raise a command not found exception. Okay. Luna says, "Whoops." But if you try pling test, then pling test should actually run that test method that will send a message back into the chat saying hello so and so. So who wants to run the test? Just pling test in the chat. I could do it myself, but I don't think I should. So hey, both of you and anybody else who's watching, thank you very much for joining. I think this is going to be great. And it worked! Yeah, there we are. The bot replied. The bot's running under my identity, so that's okay. So the bot replied straight away saying, hello, afisher15. And it prints it, because that's another message on the channel. Okay, I'm going to interrupt this thing. Well, so we have a running bot. Let's make it actually ring the bell. So we need to add a command just like this one. And let's make it a command that rings the bell. So to do that, I think it's going to be handy if I put this in a document holder to refer to it. Let's use the standard editor. Because nothing else is going to work. And let's find this piece of code where it says test. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go to the next one. I think I just say plus. And let's start inserting some stuff in here. So let's insert a blank line, and then I'm going to describe another command with act, basically just copying what's there. my bell command. What should it do? I think it should just print the bell symbol. And I'm fairly sure that the bell is character 7. May need to go verify that. There is a way from ED to jump out to the shell, I think. Oh, maybe not in append mode, maybe just in command mode. Let's try. Then I want to say, do I want to send anything back to the... yeah, let's send something back into the chat. Okay. Enough. That's it. Let's check that character 7 thing. Should have done this first, really. Yeah, pling. I think that's right. That shell commands. If I stay in the editor and do a pling, it should run. It should shell out and run it. So maybe we'll try that. But let's check that this is character 7. Sure enough. And I guess that should work if I say print character 7 5 times. Let's try it. Yeah, that didn't sound like 5 times, that sounded like 2, but anyway. Let's run it. And let's see if it responds to the bell command once it's registered on the... There we are. It did. Awesome. It rang the bell. Anybody else want to ring the bell? I think we should silence the regular messages. I think the echo for... It shouldn't echo commands, right? I mean, there's no point. It should just echo messages, so we have to go fix that. And up here, I think, in the event message handler, we'll just take out this print unless it starts with the prefix. So, deal with some typewriting. Now I've got to think of some other bot commands. I mean, there's all sorts of interesting bot commands that we should be adding on this thing somewhere. Not paper. Yeah. No. I need a clip. Oh well. Alright. So, actually, yeah, let's try this Python thing. Yeah, that's perfect. So yeah, the pling does, it just shells out and runs whatever you put in the pling. So I'm thinking here, there's a couple things. Yeah, let's go edit that thing where it says print the message author name and the message content. this line here, and the line before it says here we're just in this function. So instead I want to say if the message content doesn't begin with the prefix, I think that should do it. If the message content doesn't start with the prefix, then let's print the message author name. I hope self.prefix, it's not actually obvious. And then what's my next line? Here I want to indent this line, and the only way I know to do that is actually just to rewrite the line with a change command. Okay. Let's try it. So it should ring the bell without echoing these commands. So once it logs in, let's do a playing test. Oh no! Yeah, that didn't work. Yeah. Okay. Here's my line. Prot object has no prefix. Yeah, that's no good. Oh, and by the way, that hanging into the end of the line thing is terrible. So let's fix that by turning word wrap on in my shell. And that's a topic for a whole other discussion too, because the shell doesn't know how to word wrap. But I have a little word wrap command on my Teensy. Okay, let's edit the Twitch part. And search for that line. So, let's change the line. I'm going to do the very boring thing here. I'm going to do the very, very boring thing here and just hard code it. All right. Now. Yes, Glimmer. Greetings from the galactic journey. And look at that, we have word wrap. Well, we have almost word wrap. It's not perfect, but the terminal pretends that it knows how to do word wrap, and it almost does. So let's try the test command. Sure enough, it doesn't echo anymore. And let's do the bell command. And it rang the bell. I don't think that confirmation message is really needed. But now we have a bot that can ring the bell. I think I can take out that line. Yeah. You can ring the bell yourselves, it's okay. Anyone can do it. So, so this is why my bot needs a different identity. Yeah, absolutely. I want to make it interactive too, and have like... I want to be able to be doing other things while this is running. And so I think actually I can do this really easily. Right? I mean, I just say, let's take out that I rang the bell thing, because I don't think we need that. I think that's fine. So we can just put it in background, and then I can keep on working on other stuff, and it'll just run in background. So anyone can look. Well, yeah, that broke. We've got to wait for the trace back. Well, Galactic Journey, are you serious? This is awesome. This is not really a time machine. It's a relic, that's for sure. So yeah, this is a relic. It's a little bit of a relic. My guess is that this machine is actually a little bit of a mixture of things from different vintages. It kind of is, yeah. The base is slightly newer, or at least from a different machine than the print mechanism. The print and the keyboard are from different machines. Yeah. So this, I bought 2 of them on Craigslist, and thinking I could get one of them working and use the other one as sacrificial spares, and they sat in my basement for a few years. And I got neither of them working very well. Partly, if you undo the print wheel, then getting it aligned again is really difficult. But the same applies to all of the mechanism inside. I didn't break anything, but I didn't make it. I didn't get them back to real working order. I did a lot of cleaning, and then I took them to. Yeah, Galactic, I am totally up for that. yeah, this sits upstairs in my house, and occasionally it'll turn on. I'm using it a few hours a week nowadays, but I want to take it out into the world and get people to see it, and that's really why having a Twitch channel is like an interesting thing to do. So yeah, I took these two machines in the back of my car to a guy in Vermont who is one of the remaining kind of experts on servicing these things. He used to service them for a living in the Telex days, and now he's retired, and he knows how to fix the machines. And so he turned my two machines into one very working machine, and he actually swapped around a few of the components just to give me the best of the bunch that he had available, and so the pieces are varied. But the line, I mean, essentially the Teletype 33 was launched in 1963, 56 years ago, I think, something like that. It became super popular almost straight away because it was the best computer terminal, and people started having computers that you could connect to. And then, so Digital would actually include a Teletype with their minis. If you bought a PDP-7 or a PDP-8 or a PDP-11, then quite often you'd get a Teletype terminal with it. They sold them on their price list. And so they kind of became the default ASCII machine at a time when ASCII was new and not really standardized beyond getting out into the world through machines like this. So yeah, it's pretty amazing. This thing is at least my kind of age, to date myself. I think this dates from, I don't know, most of it from the 70s. And the CDC 500, I don't have an account there. The CDC 6500 is a really special beast. And I have an account on an old VAX machine at the DECUS, the user group. So I can connect to a VAX. The place that I like to connect to is actually is Foztek's BBS, which is a bulletin board where all these people off of the retro battle stations Reddit, subreddit, go and hang out. And this is a real live bulletin board. It's super slow because I'm running at 110 baud. But this will log me on to the Foztek's BBS. And there's all sorts of people that turn up here pretty regularly and have pretty good conversations. But you'll find people logging in here with Commodore 64s and ZX Spectrums and Candies and all sorts. So this is a good place to hang out. It's an interesting place. I also have an account. Oh, the modern sound. Yeah. I have an account on a Prime emulator as well. Mr. Modem sound. I misread you. Yeah. There we are. So yeah, so I want to see this actually. This is interesting. We can see the BBS stuff printing out, and it's kind of interlaced with the chat messages from Twitch. And that I'd like to find a solution to that. So I've got this Twitch bot running in background, but I've got things that I'm busy with in foreground. So anyway, let's leave that to print. So really I'd like to have a bit of a queue, so that when I am busy doing something else in foreground, then anything that comes up in the chat, or anything that somebody sends as a print job, will just queue up until I get back to the bash prompt. I have 16 unread messages on this thing. Reading them all takes a while. But this BBS is really awesome. If you can find yourself a modem, you can actually dial up. They have a real phone number and it'll answer. Or you can just telnet across the internet. So I think I'm just going to log straight off of here. I'll come back to it. Are you really sure? Yeah. Oh. So this thing of interlacing, I want to think about a little bit. And approximately, if I can describe my plan. What's happened? Am I still running? Goodness gracious. Oh, that's interesting. Something bad from the bot. Now, of course, you can't really run an interactive debugger. Connection reset by peer. Okay, well that's just fine. Network connection reset, this thing could handle and not complain about. So I need to figure out how to put in place an async error handler. And this is the difficult thing about programming async, is that sometimes your exceptions aren't really in the same thread. Cindermoya, that ink is so sharp and dark. Thank you very much. This is the ink. It's a regular ribbon. It's a normal size typewriter ribbon. But this is actually a silk ribbon. And I think Seide means silk in German, that's my guess, I'm not sure. But it's a silk ribbon, and that means that it has a nice, fine print. If I use a cotton ribbon, I've got a whole box of cotton ribbons, but the printing isn't really as nice. Okay. I'm a little bit behind the queue in this thing. So I think I need to get this back into the foreground. I would love to have an account on a really ancient machine. And I can interrupt the Twitch bot on here, and then it's not running anymore. Yeah, the other machine that I have access to from here is a Primos emulator, and again, from this to the Raspberry Pi that's in the pedestal. The Raspberry Pi in the pedestal is running up to the moment version of Debian, but from there you can connect to anywhere, and it just thinks it's Unix. But the Prime machine is a really different operating system. Is a really different operating system altogether. It's not Unix. Yeah, absolutely. I should be able to. No, I should be able to SSH. I think they've got Telnet or SSH terminals into their systems. So yeah, this goes. It's not RS-232. This has a current loop interface, so it's current rather than voltage. And then I built a current loop to USB converter, and so then the USB plugs into my Raspberry Pi. My Raspberry Pi is doing just Linux, and that's all the shell stuff that I'm playing with here. Then once you're on Linux, the world's your oyster, right? Yeah, the Prime system didn't work. I don't know why. when I was in high school, I used one of these. This is my personal connection to that kind of machine. I used one of these, and it was connected to a prime machine at the local university 20 miles down the road. The current loop, unlike like a USB or a RS-232, the current loop actually ran for 15 miles there and 15 miles back, and it was reliable, or reliable enough to use. Anyway, so yeah, it's it's history. So yeah, my whole project here is to try and make this old machine connect to basically a modern machine. The Raspberry Pi is running Debian Stretch. It's brand new. I keep updating it. Yeah, Luna, I almost understand your project now. I didn't at first at all, and I think I think I understand the what. I'm not sure I understand the why just yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing your progress and chatting to you about that one. Yeah, let's look at some of the modernness of this, because when you've got an old Unix terminal connected to a new Unix, I mean, the first thing I set up here is to have it automatically log in. Oh yeah, awesome. Thank you, Galactic. And I gotta go research your site after this session. This sounds really, really cool. So yeah, on old Unix machines, you could log in and type your username, and if the whole username was uppercase, then it would say, oh, you are using a terminal that can only handle uppercase. Let's switch it so that the shell, STTY, translates everything from uppercase to lowercase. But that option has gone away in modern Unix, more or less. I didn't want to recompile to get it back in, so I have firmware in this current loop to USB converter that does that for me. But then also just the model of like logging in with a terminal. On my Mac, I don't log in with a terminal, I log in with the graphical UI, and then when I open a terminal I don't have to log in. So I'm going to explore in our next session, I think. I'm going to explore playing with the Getty, or kind of spelunking through Getty land. So yeah, queued up for a future thing. So what else should we do in a bot? This can print stuff, obviously. Dinging the bell, I think, is great. I can do that in background anytime. Oh, I think I know what I want. When I ding the bell, the only nasty side effect that might have is if I'm punching tape at the time. The Y is for fun and practice. And GetOpt isn't around anymore. Well, there you go, yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you can see here, my word wrap is slightly wrong. I'm actually ending up overprinting at the end of the line. So building your own version of GetOpt. Yeah, the Y that I don't get, actually, is just because I've never used it, and I've never came across it before today, before yesterday. The Y that I don't get for GetOpt is like, who needs? Doesn't the shell do that? Doesn't the shell pull apart your commands? I mean, how do you actually use it in front of something? I get the, like here, in Python I'm using the click library. And the click library is like, define these options, and then you can define whether they're required or whether they're kind of Boolean flags or whatever. So as part of a app, I totally get it. and having worked with the Python argparse, which is terrible, the idea of having a nice options library is really attractive. But having a separate executable to deal with options, I'd love to see the use case. I don't get it yet. So you don't have to answer right now. We can hang out on your stream and talk more about it. Yeah. So what else should I do? Oh yeah, that reminds me. The next thing that I think I want to do here is I want to edit this bot to not echo unless I want it, right? If I want it running in background, I just want it running in background, and I want it to ring the bell without printing an extra carriage return, and I don't want it to echo messages, so I want to add a -Q or a quiet option to this thing. Yeah. You mind if I just go do that? I think that's my next little project. AFR33 bin. And I want to say, where's this option stuff? Down here, I want to add a new option that says quiet, and it's going to be a Boolean. Let's write that again. Oh, this is complicated. Yeah, it's muscle memory for the one-fingered typing. This is complicated. I want to say default false, and it needs a capital F. And I don't remember if my firmware does this. I don't think it does. So let's see. This line here, I just delete. That was a misspell. What's the current line? Yeah, that dash, that backslash. I think I want my firmware to do. Okay. Let me finish my train of thought and then go read your comment here. I think I want my firmware to do backslash and then something to turn it into uppercase, because I'm coming across so many situations where, yeah, I really need just a little bit of uppercase characters. And having the default everything to lowercase is great, but you need, for a modern system, you need to be able to go to uppercase. So let's change this line to now the other thing, and this kind of blows my mind actually sometimes. The other thing is I can't just like switch windows to go Google stuff. What I'm actually doing, and I don't have this shared on the stream, but I'm actually like switching to a different computer to go look stuff up. It's not like I'm even switching windows. I'm switching to a separate computer. Back in the day, there was no such thing as another, like, you're going to have another computer sitting next to you. You've got this machine connected to the computer, and you and 100 other people are connected to the computer. All right. I need to just change this and add that parameter in. And let's see what next. So I'm actually getting used to the ED editor. Except almost. I want to say the next 5. Instead I jump. And hey, I'm on line 5 now. Like, I didn't want to be in line 5. Okay. I want to be back down the end of the file again. It's somewhere near here. There's no copy and paste, unfortunately. Lincolnshire. No, I grew up in Surrey, and now I live in the US, and I've lived in the States for a while, so I've got some American thing. So back to Luna's comment, the shell handles things like quotes and subshells and variables and globs, and that's about it. But if you do something like color equals always, oh yeah, like a subshell, or you want to, yeah, okay. Yes, I grew up in Surrey, and I had at high school I used one of these things connected to the University of Surrey in Guildford, where they had a Prime machine. So anyway, so let's see, I need to add my quiet parameter. Oh, I have a northern tinge because who knows. I need to add my quiet parameter. CH equals 3A. Alright. Yeah, I'm totally not used to streaming. It's a whole experiment. So I want to add. How do people do this, like for hours on end, and not forget what on earth they were working on? My brother lives in Lancaster. This may have messed up. Let's see. My word wrap, I should leave word wrap off. Yeah, that's okay. The word wrap is just on the display, it's not on the entering, so I don't have a character return in the middle of this file. In the middle of this line, because it just printed one line. So that's where I put my quiet parameter in. And then I need to go change my init to store that parameter. And so let's go to the init. Change this. I'm going to do some indentation here because the chances of messing things up are really super high, and also I want to keep everything in a single line, or shorter than 72 characters here. So but am I in the right place? Oh, croup. I can't even write the word none here. I think I might be stuck. Thanks, Cinder. Thanks for joining us. This was really fun. I'm stuck. I need to type none. But I can't do it because literally ain't no way. So, okay. Let's pretend. And I can always fix it up with said, exactly. And again, false. And then colon. Yeah. So there has to be a solution using sed, and of course, the trivial solution of replace none, which looks uppercase and actually is lowercase, with what I want to do is right like that, and of course something. Interesting. Okay. Anyway. I'm over time. I expected to be here for an hour. We got the bot working, pretty much. I wrote my changes, so I'm just going to go into... oh, look at that. Sed -i s/false/ u to make the first letter of it uppercase. And maybe ed itself does that. I mean, the regular expression stuff inside of the editor here is pretty sophisticated for its vintage. So, yeah, well, let's try it. Yeah, thanks, Galactic. I certainly will. Where's my backslash gone? Backslash u underscore slash g. This better not break it. Let's try the same again. Try in ed directly, yeah. X is certainly worth a try, yeah. And so again here. And thanks, Glimmer. I'm gonna just run it. And if it breaks, and then we'll come fix it up. But I'll probably just fix it up offline if it breaks. I do want to check it into the GitHub repo. Yeah, there we go. Something broke. Nice. And of course, when you can't even read whether the message is uppercase or not, then debugging a case thing, you're like, I'm going to use OD to dump hex. Yeah, I got my parameters all wrong. I'll go edit it offline with a modern editor and modern terminal on my Mac and SSH into my little Raspberry Pi and go check it in. Anyway, I think I'm going to sign off. This is really successful. We rang the bell. I have a few other things in my to-do. And next time we'll either keep doing those, or I want to do some kind of digging into the Getty, just to talk about that history, because I recently discovered it and it's kind of cool. Anyway, much appreciate you hanging out with me. I hope you had as much fun as I did, and this is quite an adventure. My machine is still working, hasn't broken this time. I did not need the fire extinguisher, and so we have success. I didn't need to break out the fire extinguisher, and I'm just going to log off of the machine. Alright, thanks everybody. Have fun.